accurate to how bright it is in this one.
Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly dungeon master this evening. Tonight, we are continuing on. Finally, we are back to playing our ongoing Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign. This is session 22, guys, if you believe it. We've had some delays in the campaign at different times where we've dabbled with different games. But this is, I'm pretty sure we're up to about a year and a half of playing this game now, even though it's only 22 sessions. So that's pretty impressive. So with me tonight are the two regular fixtures of the Shadow of the Demon Lord session. We've got, I'll go the order, excuse me, you guys logged in. So first up, we've got Steve-O.
Yo.
Steve, why don't you tell us who you are and who you're playing?
I'm the usual cast of miscreants. I've got Hobie, the Revenant Priest, slash Park Warden, and I've got Junis, the Mechanical Juggernaut, and Malar, the Secret Changeling Mechanomancer.
Yep. Nice. And we also have Jeffrey.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff, and I'm going to be playing Traitor. He is the shape-shifting goblin, I don't know, fighter, ninja?
He's a rogue. He's a rogue and also a mystic, so like a monk type character.
Okay. And of course, Matt, he is a magician, wizard, and chemist, and occultist.
So where we last left our heroes, what I thought I would do, guys, is because it's been a while since we've played, I thought I'd do a quick refresh of what sort of what's happened in the campaign thus far, the different characters, and in a very quick sort of cutscene kind of way, and bring everyone listening up to speed and help refresh us as to what's happened so far for tonight's session. So this campaign kicked off at 0 level with Millar, Junis, and Hobie, Millar was a fisherwoman who had was a changeling posing as a dwarf who had kind of dreams of becoming a wizard, or not a wizard, but a spellcaster at least, and eventually an artificer. Junis was a clockwork laborer who used to be a effectively kind of like a protocol droid. He was a someone who worked for a wealthy diplomat, but he had dreams of becoming a warrior and a swashbuckler. And Hobie was kind of the village drunk who had sort of connections with or had strong veneration of this god called Revel, who is one of the gods as part of the Old Faith. In their first adventure, the guys went to investigate the disappearance of an old priest of the new god, who had been a mutual acquaintance of all three characters. In the course of investigating that, they ran afoul of a group that I believe was called the Red Sashes. It was a street gang, and they thought that maybe they might have been to blame for his disappearance. But it turned out that the priest was kidnapped by some kind of creature that had been jailed in this enormous iron, like cube-shaped prison, where it was slowly taking him apart, literally, with surgical precision. In the fracas that followed the discovery of this thing in the giant iron prison, Hobie unfortunately was actually killed. But unusually, Hobie actually came back as a revenant. And in the course of the campaign, he has come to learn that it seems to have been his god, Revel, who brought him back for some specific purpose. Our heroes became, the trio of heroes at least, became involved with the some of the more wealthy and influential members of the community. In particular, a merchant named Master Dreen, I believe, and he hired the trio to try and locate his daughter. His daughter had gone missing. The heroes tracked her down to this island off the coast, or not off the coast, but into the the lake that surrounds. I think it's called the something water, dark water, maybe. And when they got there, they found that it was, of course, the Red Sashes, who seemed to be part of some kind of cult, something to do with the Fae. And Hobie started a long trend of dying again and again and again when he discovered that the I think it was Candace was her name, right? Candace Dreen. She was actually infused with the essence of the, or like a fragment of the essence of the fairy queen Titania. However, she seemed quite horrific, and she ended up trying to kill Hobie. While she did succeed, just Hobie doesn't really stay dead. After that, the guys came back. They let Master Dreen know what happened, and Dreen hired them to try and flush out or find as much as they could learn about this Fae pact. But what had happened to the Fae Queen, why she was suddenly acting very differently than what she did before, and why the Fae were so much more sinister and malevolent now than what they were before. To that end, Master Dreen also hired a dwarf who was sort of an archaeological or historical kind of expert named Eric. That was Jeff's first character in Shadow the Demon Lord. And it was also the first PC to be killed when Jeff wasn't playing him. They went and tracked down it wasn't a tomb, but it was some kind of ancient structure that turned out to be effectively a prison or hospital for Fae, for the elves and the other Fae creatures that had been affected by the war with the trolls at thousands of years ago. So they broke into this place, and in the course of investigating the ruins, Eric got killed by a giant. By a giant, actually. It was a Fae fungal mound or fungal giant. The other three heroes, however, did survive thanks to a little bauble that they had, which was a snow globe, effectively, that showed crossing in it, the town that they're all from, and they were able to teleport back to that. They reported that, although they encountered a bunch of Fae creatures in there, they didn't really learn much. And it seems like the jailer who was there had gone mad and had been effectively either released or was overpowered by the people who were, or the things that were secured there. After that, we had some cutscenes, or did some downtime. That was about 6 months of downtime, I think. And during that time, Millar was approached by something that had been haunting her for quite some time. Way back when she was living with the dwarves in a dwarven community further to the northeast, she had an encounter with a phenomenally evil being known as Diabolus. Diabolus is effectively kind of like the devil in this setting. I'll show you guys a reminder of what Diabolus looks like. Where is it here? Show players. There we go. So that's the big nasty guy who visited her, and he tried to influence her to follow his will when she was with the Dwarven clan. You may remember, Steve, that when that happened, she was helping to work on these titanic versions of the clockworks. The dwarves, crafted at the request of the emperor, had crafted these enormous kind of like, giant robot versions of the clockworks. And Diabolus wanted her to do something with them. She fled instead, and that was that. What else? So she was actually she was approached by Diabolus. Oh, I think actually that might have happened then, where she was approached by Diabolus with an offer, which was of some power. So she learned some additional spells and stuff like that at the cost of some tainting of her soul. Since that time, she's been visited by visions of Diabolus multiple times. Hobie had also had a fairly involved dream at one point, where he encountered, he had a dream of himself in some kind of very, very fancy, like marble castle, which I think he interpreted as being the Fae court, the Seelie court. And do you remember him being at that big party there, Steve, where he had, there was a bunch of food that he couldn't taste and stuff like that, and there was people dancing and whatnot?
Yep.
So he had that, and then he saw, he had a vision where he heard a child crying, and then he saw a baby being carried along, and sort of like it was the only thing spotlighted in a darkened room. It was brought over and then sealed inside some kind of blackened, or not blackened, some kind of a mechanical casing. And then as the light sort of expanded, he realized that the baby was inside a clockwork. And there was a person in the crowd who had the distinct look of Revel. He was carrying the tankard and whatever else. And there was a moment where he was offered, I think that thing, or that guy offered Hobie a drink, and then he could suddenly feel it and taste it. And he had the full sensations as if he was alive again. And I think that was the extent of it. I think that what Hobie was drawing from that was that there was some sort of offer in place that if he did something, because I think you encountered the fairy queen there as well too, and basically the offer was if you thwart the fairy queen, then Revel will grant you life again.
Ooh.
Yeah. Shortly after that is when you guys were introduced to, or the trio was introduced to, two other heroes by Master Dreen, two others who he had hired to investigate things further. That was Matt Baker and Trader. Matt dresses in a very unusual way. He speaks with a very unusual accent, and he has technology with him, including a pretty badass looking firearm that seems beyond the level of technological expertise that anyone else in the Empire has achieved. You guys remember that this is a world. Excuse me. This is a world with firearms and steampunk, some elements of steampunk fantasy, but it's not to the point where it's a level of complexity like the Old West or the modern era, and that's sort of what Matt's gun looks like. Matt's gun looks like a modern revolver. With him was something that our heroes initially thought was his familiar, a little raven, who turned out to be a lycanthropic goblin named Trader. The initial task I think you guys went on was to go and explore that island where Candace disappeared, to try and explore that gate. Or maybe was it that, or was it that there was that infection that was hitting I think it was the infection first, right? There was the infection that was spreading across crossings.
Yeah, we dealt with that infection right away. That's why Matt was hired by Dreen. What's his name?
Master Dreen, yeah.
Master Dreen, yeah.
Okay, so then right, so then Matt and Trader were hired for that. There seemed to be this sickness that was afflicting people in Perse, in the richest neighborhood in Crossings. In the course of investigating, you guys found that there was what was happening to these people who were getting sick is they would die and they would come back as what seemed to be like some kind of undead zombie type thing. But when these zombies were put down, there was a nasty looking little blackened evil fairy that would crawl out of their heads. So Matt, who seemed to have a particular interest in the fairy, he got involved with the rest of the group to try and prevent this. That culminated in a massive explosion at one of the more opulent mansions in Perse called the Catandramus Manor. You guys went there and you found that in the basement of there was a bunch of fey creatures, including a giant fungal giant, again, very similar to the ones you found in the asylum or in the prison, that was scouting out this crazy toxic fungal spore cloud. And that seemed to be the thing that was infecting people. This was confirmed when you guys traveled to the island where the portal was that Candace disappeared through. And you found, again, another one of these fungal guardians. You defeated that. And nearby you found buried a enormous iron cylinder or casing that had all these blades and stuff on it. And in addition to that, you also found some other things. Oh, I think the island did happen first. only because I think that Matt, that's where he found his pocket watch, right? And he had the watch when they went into Catandramus Manor.
Right, but that was after the initial thing where he was investigating the zombies.
Oh, right. Okay, so maybe the investigation started, then you guys went to the island, and then you guys came back.
And then this thing happened at the house.
Right. Okay, and yeah, so then that's what happened to the house. While you were on the island, you found these yes, because you were more aware of what was going on. So in that giant iron tube is where you guys found those scrolls that were written in Dwarvish. And what it turned out to be was basically a Dwarvish recounting of the Troll Wars. And what was described in there were a number of like arcane biological weapons that the Queen used against the trolls, which included the fungal giants, which were used to infect the troll armies. So it seemed more evidence to you that the Queen is declaring war on mortals in crossings or in crossing. The next thing you guys, let me think here. The next thing that you guys did was you heard about a tower that was disappearing. Remember that there was a tower that would appear at the day before the full moon, the day of the full moon, and the day after, and then would disappear again. You guys traveled out to that place, and I can't remember the name of the town right now, but the three of you, or the five of you, all traveled out there, and then you found that it was a very weird, structure where you had to like activate some kind of teleportation thing to be able to travel from room to room, and you guys were all very quickly separated into different rooms, and you found a bunch of crazy stuff in those different rooms. But ultimately, what you guys did was you rescued this mad elf from there. In the interim, you guys also decided to invest some of your money, and you purchased a small hunting lodge outside of Crossing. And you decided to try and do some more. What I guess this mad elf seemed to be is it seemed like. Well, let me ask you this. Maybe I'll ask you guys. What do you remember him saying, so I don't spoil things inadvertently?
Oh, what exactly did he say? He said a lot of things. He led us on to the fact that Diabolus is the main bad guy.
I think it's the Demon Lord is what you're thinking of. The Demon Lord is a separate creature from Diabolus.
Well, he was saying something that was it the Demon Lord? I don't remember. He said something.
Okay. Steve, what do you remember about that?
He was the Demon Lord who had unleashed the Fey hordes.
Yeah, he was. The Queen has been. I think what he told you is that she had been sickened by the Demon Lord.
Oh yeah.
Well, who's the one that Millar sees?
The one that Millar sees is Diabolus. And that's also.
Then that's the one that he led us on to, because I remember Matt was freaking out about it, and Steve had to make saves to see if Millar broke down and talked about it.
That's absolutely right, because Diabolus is actually responsible for raising Matt's former world, or the place he comes from. Right,
and that's why Matt was freaking out and saying, "This is the true enemy. We're in big trouble. We got to stop him. He's going to destroy your world."
Yeah.
And then Millar had to make saves to see if she was blurting out about her history or whatever.
Right. Okay, so and then in the course of this as well too, Millar has been hearing the voice and seeing Diabolus on a more consistent basis as well. So the last thing that happened, well, actually, there's two other things two other adventures that happened. You guys brought this mad elf back to your hunting lodge, and your lodge was attacked by effectively the top assassin of the Fairy Queen. It's the huntsman and his pack, and the horned huntsman. Did I see if I posted a picture on it here or not? Can't remember.
Yeah, I think there was a picture of him that we looked at.
Yeah, I thought
don't
I
know
did.
I don't know if you posted it or if you showed us in the book.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, here we go.
Definitely
I think I did.
Yeah,
Here we go.
he
Again.
is.
There he is. So there you are, guys. That's what the Hornet Hunter looked like. And then he had his dire wolf. There we go. Pack that was hunting you. So those things all attacked your house. You guys made a valiant stand, but unfortunately, the call of the hunter's horn drew that mad elf to him, and he was slain. In the aftermath of that, you guys were all sort of dispirited and exhausted and just, shocked. So you all sort of went to bed, and that's when Matt either dreamed or found himself in his old room, in his old apartment. And he sat down to play a video game. And when he did that, it launched something called the... it was a game, I believe it was called the Kingdom of the Goblin King, the Garden of Graves, or something like that, or the Wrath of the Goblin King, or something like that.
Garden of Graves sounds familiar.
Garden of Graves is absolutely what the game was, and what you guys saw before was you guys found yourself in that really unusual. Garden of Graves hands out. There we go. Great. Okay, so you guys found that in that really weird, I guess a garden, like a sculpted and manicured garden with these weird-looking buildings that you guys recognize as sort of twisted Fey architecture. And as you made your way through there, you found some unusual things. There was a note, remember, that was shown there that had that weird poem in it. There was, what else here?
The three
you met
statues.
That's right. You encountered those 3 statues that one of which attacked you guys when you guys were making your way through. You also found yourselves transformed into kind of a weird, like, pixelated version of yourself that was much more gamey and much less real. You made your way past there. You were attacked by a campsite and an enormous obelisk that had this weird beam that was being shot from the top of it, which Trader ripped off the top. And then you made your way into this bizarre building where you heard the soft crying of a woman who appeared to be an elvish woman chained to the wall. But one of you had very keen eyes, and you noticed that her chains were not actually really sealed. So she dropped those, and she appeared to be, she turned out to be some form of hideous Fey creature made up of carnivorous bugs. And you were attacked by that and a swarm, and you managed to defeat her and those things. And that's sort of where we left it. And what where our story opens tonight is you guys in that room. There's the burning brazier behind you, Matt. There are the broken husks of a bunch of dead insects at your feet. And looking around, you realize that this place now feels much more tangible and real than it did at the outset of that fight. Mechanically, just for those listening at home, what we did for the last 2 sessions, we actually were using Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition because I really had a jonesing to run that. So we're using that for this for the first 2 sessions of this, playing an adventure called The Garden of Graves out of the 4th edition Tomb of Horrors book. But tonight we've transitioned back to Shadow the Demon Lord, and that's where you find you guys. So I think what happens, we see the arquebus or the arbalest. Is that what your thing is, Steve? Is an arbalest?
Is that what it is? Sure.
I'm trying to remember what it's called.
It's what the heck is it? It's like a scorpion, right?
Yeah, it's like a scorpion, exactly. So that thing sort of like finishes up and then, disappears. So you guys can put yourself, both Hobie and Millar can give themselves full mana again. Now, you may remember that these tokens are a little finicky sometimes, so the health bars sometimes disappear, but I've got them set up right now so that as you take damage, the bars will go up, and as you use your mana, just it'll go down. But right now, you can fill your mana bars up if you like. I can actually do that for you. Just give me a sec here. Oop. There we go.
Okay.
So,
I have two
what do you guys
questions
think?
right
Yep.
away. Question one, are we still the pixelated versions of ourselves?
No, you are appearing to be your actual selves now.
So like after we defeated this Fae, sort of the spell broke of...
Yeah.
Okay.
And the place feels more, it still has those really weird like glowing markings in the wall, but it looks more, I mean, it doesn't look more real, it is real. It's actual stone. You can go out and feel it, and it feels like stone. And your hands and those of your colleagues look like the living flesh that you would see, which makes you think that it's less of a dreamy sort of atmosphere and more of a hidden realm or something like that. So, what are you guys going to do? No one seems to be injured right now. Where you guys came from was back over here. Now, this map, I haven't done it yet, but there's a really cool new feature that they've added in Roll20 where, okay, first off, I've managed to make Fog of War work finally. You know how I used to fuck it up and you guys would, go on the screen and you see nothing but black?
Right.
So it turns out all I need to do is I need to adjust one setting on the token and then it works. So the cool thing is rather than having him have me like erase the Fog of War parts of the screen so you guys can see it, it will naturally reveal itself and stay revealed now. Oh, so yet another reason why I fucking love Roll20. Okay, however, so what are you guys going to do? You may remember that there was that that note that someone that you think is the Goblin King left you here.
Right. Which said what?
A bunch of different things. It's right here, guys. Boom.
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah. Right.
So I'm not sure how much insight that offers you, but what would you guys like to do?
We explore.
Yeah. Well, I was going to read this again, so maybe I'll read it again for people at home at the same time. Count you the shadows, watch the sun. The wise know where they stand. While knowing not the time to shun, the fools must find themselves undone. Like lustful swain or panicked child who beg another's gentle hand, the fool delves heedless through the wild. The wise are not so soon beguiled. When darkness falls and dreams portend the rising of a fearsome foe, the fool, swift striking, meets his end. The wise no foe from friend. Let art and image point the way. Abandon all you think you know, for common sense leads fools astray. The key is simply this: obey. The wise must never strategize. They never play unless to win. They see the harm in comfort's lies and seek to open weary eyes. You've fought your way, you've risked demise, to view the ivy heart within. Now as the soul within you dies, this knowledge is your only prize. You'd never have come were you truly wise.
Nice. So, what would you like to do now, Matt? Why don't you give me an intellect check, and I'll let you add in. I'll give you a boon for that, just because you've got substantial experience with video games.
Intellect. Oh, need my keyboard.
And so, as a reminder, unless you're contesting something with someone, a 10 is all you need to succeed, and a 20 plus is usually like great. So that was a great success, 21. Right. So you know that if this works the way that the video game version of this has worked before, that was effectively like a mini boss. So it'll be one in a series of mini bosses that you will fight leading up to the final boss.
Right. Now, the room we're in was at the end of another room that was full of ruins or something?
Yes, the way that the way that this building is it was on a second story, and effectively built on stilts. And then you may remember that there was a winding staircase you had to go up, and then there was a table that had a display of what this whole garden looked like, kind of in better times. And this is what you realized from viewing it from sort of a bird's eye view, was that this is a graveyard for the Fae, which should speak to how important this place is. I mean, it's effectively a place where the immortals lay their members to rest. The only way that generally the immortals die is through violence or through misadventure, not through age or time or sickness or anything like that. So, however, the place that you have been viewing is significantly different and darker and more twisted than what you saw on that display. What you can see from where Millar over here, where I'm pinging, that is another another door leading out.
All right, let's head out the door.
Okay, let me just go to my dynamic lighting layer. I'll open the door, and you guys can feel free to move your guys. Boom. I think you have control of the tokens.
Okay.
See.
Let me make sure.
My Roll20 is being a little glitchy.
Yeah, they should all be controlled by you guys. Okay, oh yeah, Junus moved there. Okay. So you can see that there's a little path out there, Junus, and then to your left as you're stepping out, you can hear the soft gurgling of a small creek or stream.
Right, there was a waterfall, so this is, and we're on the higher level now, so this is probably
That's right.
Stream that leads to that waterfall.
That's right.
I don't know if Matt's moving. Hey, Matt. Whoa.
It's a bit glitchy.
The problem actually might be me, because I set up the in order to set up the dynamic lighting, you have to set up like barriers that are you trace along the walls to set up barriers so where the light doesn't go through, but you're not supposed to be able to move through those either. So let me just move you guys outside, and that might help with you being able to maneuver them.
Oh, I see. I actually have to like walk as if I'm moving them down a hallway. I get it.
Yeah, so there, I just moved you guys outside. So that's what you can see now is
okay.
Yeah, there appears there's sort of a against the silhouette of the overcast sky, there is a much larger structure to your left, like across to the other side of the stream. There's a little bridge that leads across, and there's a path on the far side as well. The stream appears to be maybe about, I guess actually in this darkness, it's reflecting the light, so it's difficult to see how deep it actually is. It seems to be moving fairly quickly, though. What do you guys want to do?
Yeah, I don't think we want to go into the stream.
You want to go into the stream?
No, I don't think we want to. Let's go across the bridge.
It probably will test it with his foot.
Test the stream?
The bridge.
Oh, the bridge. Okay. Yeah. So you go and you sort of shake the bridge. You know, it kind of like it's a rope kind of thing, but it does seem to be fairly sturdy. It has on the posts. It has this same sort of strange fey markings and carvings that you've seen in some of the other filigree elements of the structure. But again, as well, they seem twisted here. Like the poles aren't quite straight up and down; they're a bit, warped to the side. But it does seem to be sound, though. The structure still seems to be in one piece.
All right. Well, we better truck it across.
Give her.
Okay.
Okay. So what you see there is a path to your right and a path to your left, and then there is a very tall, curving wall directly ahead of you that hits a weird angular corner as well. The larger, as I said, like the structure that is to your left there, that seems to be at least 1.5, 2, sometimes 3 stories tall, with weird shapes and angles to it, and you're seeing it silhouetted against the sky. The larger of the structures is below, is to the following the path that is at the bottom of the screen.
Alrighty. Up or down? Let's go. Can we go down?
Sure.
Okay, you guys can start moving your guys. All right, as with the other paths you've seen here, these paths are, were cultured and landscaped at one point, but it looks like there are shoots of weeds and so forth that are growing through the gravel path. The grass is quite overgrown. It seems like it has not seen a groundskeeper or some kind of maintenance in quite some time.
All right. Head up into the gap here. Check it out.
Sure. Maybe there's a door or something.
Okay. So you make your way up in there.
What are these things we're walking past?
Those are hedges.
Oh, okay.
They are wildly overgrown, though. They look like they had been shaped into a very, sort of like an oval sort of shape. But there's now, wild twigs growing out. It's not, it has not been maintained in quite some time. Junius, you make your way all the way down there, and you see that there is nothing but wall.
All right, dead end. We'll head this way.
Okay, and each of those brown squares or whatnot that you're passing, those appear to be the same types of what do you call it? Same types of overgrown hedges. Now, the 2 black things that you see here, guys, those are obelisks, very similar to that one that I'm showing you right now. Only there is no brass sphere at the top of it. They're just strict freestanding obelisks.
Okay, good.
And then what you see at the bottom there. Oh, there is. Would you guys make perception checks for me, please? And I'm going to give 1 Bane to the check. And remember, if you've got a profession that you think might apply to your thing, just let me know. I'll let you know whether I agree or not, and then you'll get a boon from that.
Engineer, occult?
I don't think so. I don't. What was the first one?
Engineer.
No, I don't think so.
Do you just do -1? Is that how this works again?
Yeah, I think it's -1 is what you do to get the Bane. Hey, Matt still succeeded though.
No, it's okay. One.
Ooh, Trader is not paying attention.
He never
Hey, nice.
is.
Who was that second one you rolled for there, Steve?
It was Hobie. I thought I changed it, but you got to do it first.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, so great. Well, then I know at least one of each of your characters has spotted it. So Matt and Hobie, you think you see something actually sort of, between these two obelisks. There's something that appears to be where Millar is standing in the ground there, slightly obscured by a layer of sort of kicked gravel. In order to inspect it closer, you're going to have to sort of kick some gravel free.
Junius will do a little dirt kicking.
Okay, so you start clearing it away, and what you see is that there is a circle with arcane ruins and markings traced into the ground. And there appears to be stones set into the ground in which these carvings have been made. Once you clear it out, you see that it is a circle. Anyone who has a profession of occult or anything like that, you can feel free to make an intellect check with a boon.
All right. That's
Yep.
what I want to do.
14.
As mentioned, Millar.
Nice. Okay. So Millar, you recognize that it is effectively like a Fey crossing. It is a teleportation circle.
Oh, it's a teleportation circle.
Matt, you likewise. Yeah.
Yes, that's my take on it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Any ideas on how to activate it?
Do I have any such idea?
Actually, what'd you guys roll? 14? I don't think that you. Oh, Matt, you've got some teleportation magic, right? That's one of your schools that you're trained in.
Yep.
Yep. Give me a intellect check with a boon. And Millar, I think because you're Fey, I'll let you make a intellect check with a boon as well.
Oh.
Whoa, Matt. Jeez, check out the big brain on Matt. Sorry, is Millar making a? There you go.
Nice.
Ooh, both of you guys. Yeah, so you know that if you have effectively the keyword, you should be able to access this thing no problem.
Keyword.
So, and I think with well, I think both of you have probably operated something like this before to cross from the hidden kingdoms into Earth.
Right. We've certainly seen a few of these Fey doors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now what?
Do you have to speak it in a certain language?
It would likely be an Elvish word, but you don't necessarily need to be fluent in Elvish in order to operate it. You just need to know what the Elvish word is.
Okay, Matt's going to try the word obey.
Okay. So you say that, and Trader's head sort of pops over, and Millar, you hear him say that, but I don't think anyone else speaks Elvish. It does not function. Nothing happens.
Boo.
Okay.
Nice try.
Now, I'm not sure if it's clear on the map, but at the bottom of the screen there, guys, there appears to be a door.
So there is. I hope you'll have a little peek in.
Okay. So you pull the door back, and this door actually looks a little different from the other doors you've operated. The other doors that you've gone in have been some kind of lacquered wood that appears to be with no like cutting or markings in it. It seems to be like wood that somehow only grew to the point of the the size of the planks. This, however, is and those ones were like a kind of a it's aged. Those ones were aged, but they were like an amber or light brown colored. These are kind of the bleached color of like driftwood. It feels the same, and as it opens, you can hear the sounds inside of a vibrant forest.
Ooh.
So you open it and you can hear like the rushing of trees, in the wind. You can hear the sounds of birds during the day. You can hear the creaking of the limbs of the mighty woods as they're gently, moving in the breeze. And you think, actually, hold on, the two guys who were there do not really have senses of smell. So I think Millar maybe is the closest one too. You think you can smell like there's that earthy, rich aroma that comes from, really healthy and loamy kind of earth.
Nice.
And within there, let me just open. I'll move the door so you can see in there. Layers, dynamic lighting. Here we go. Bop, bop, bop. Boom. That's what you see in there.
Footsteps.
There are footsteps in there. Anybody have any like tracking or like wilderness kind of, stuff? Any rangery kind of professions?
Let's see here. Oh,
Closest I have is a soldier.
Pilgrim.
Yeah, I don't think that'll.
But
Oh,
not
poacher,
really, no.
poacher rustler for Junus.
Oh, sweet. Okay, yeah, Junus, go ahead and make a perception roll with a boon.
Nice. I'm changing the name to Junus, but watch, it'll still say Millar. Whatever. 5.
Jesus. Okay, so you can't place what these footprints are of. They're quite smeared. Yeah, and they seem to be. I think even the 5. They seem to be heading in the direction like to the. If you're facing that door, it's to your left, like not straight ahead down the hallway, but to the left.
Right.
What would you guys like to do?
Well, hope you could go invisible if you wanted. Have a look.
Sure. I mean, how fresh do you think the footprints are?
Can anyone tell how fresh the footprints are? Do they seem wet?
I think with a 5, it's really difficult to tell.
Sure.
You want to let you do is anybody else who wants to make a perception check, you just make it with 1 bane because you're lacking the necessary training. But otherwise, you can make the roll.
Matt's like kind of jumped over there. He's like, "What footsteps?" And he's taking a look.
Okay.
1 bane. All right, here goes Millar. 5.
Ooh,
Nice.
She can't make out what it is either. Jeez, Matt does though. So Matt, first thing, was that a nat 20 or is that you rolled a 6 on your boom?
He rolled a 6. He rolled a 19.
Yeah. Okay. So wait, he rolled an. Oh, because right, he said the bane. Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's a bane.
Oh,
that's a -6. Yeah, and you got
that is a misleading green border then.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. You rolled a terrific failure, but that's actually a success though. So what you notice is that the footsteps appear to be human-sized. They are booted, and they appear to be leading into the room. And the gleam that you're seeing, or the gleam you're seeing off of the muddy steps, makes you think that it is very fresh.
Let's go check it out. Maybe whoever it is can tell us what's going on here.
Sure. Junus clomps in. Oh, look at that. They're going to the left, guys.
And what you see there, Junus, is there is a large statue.
Uh-oh, it's a statue.
So as you make your way in, Junus, you are taking 1 step, and you hear the clank on the rock or stone flooring or tiling, and then you hear again, and then you stop and look around. You're in some kind of ruined city that is massively overgrown. Like, if you think of the scenes from, you know, like disaster movies where a city has been abandoned and it's like the woods and the whatnot all overgrow the thing, so it's barely recognizable as a city any longer.
Sure.
That's what you're seeing right now. And you're looking around, and then Matt, as soon as you step in there, you see the same thing too. You see Junus standing before you, you know, his sort of blocky clockwork form staggering around, looking up, trying to drink in what's around him. And Matt, you find yourself in the same. You're standing in almost waist-high grass at this point.
Wow. So it's much bigger than the room looks on the map.
Yeah. You also, what you smelled before, or what I described, now it's overpowering. You're in the middle of a sunny, overgrown, city. And as you're looking around, you look up and, you know, just go ahead and make a perception check for me. Just a difficulty of 10. So, and as each of the characters moves into this room, they see the same thing. Incidentally, the other characters still see them standing in there, but they seem to be standing rock steady, like without moving. Okay. So Junus can't quite place this place. It's of the same technology level as what Earth is. Like, it's not like you've gone to a like futuristic place or a, you know, place in the more developed. Matt, you give me a perception check, or was it 24 yours?
Yeah, that was a 24. That one's an actual 20.
So the one thing that you do recognize is the, one sec here, the 6 white spires that you recognize as the towers from Crossing.
Oh, it's like this is Crossing.
But completely, you would never think. You sort of, it dawns on you as well as you're looking around at the overgrown trees and whatever else, and the buzzing of insects. There's no other sound. There are no people here. So I'm going to assume that each
future version or a very past version of Crossing.
Is that what Matt says out loud?
Yeah, that's what he's saying to them.
Okay. And then you hear from across the street, "Perceptive, Mr. Baker." Something like that. And you all look over, and what you see is the Goblin King.
No.
Is he the statue?
The statue was of the Goblin King, but this is the actual Goblin King. This is David Bowie from Labyrinth.
And is he standing where the statue was?
Well, the statue doesn't mirror directly towards where you guys are standing now. Like, where you're standing now is effectively in the middle of one of the streets of, or what was one of the streets.
Okay.
But it's all overgrown, and there's trees, and there's things, and the Goblin King steps forward, and he's sort of like about maybe, you know, a quarter of a block away from you guys, maybe like 3 old broken store window, you know, fronts down. And he says, "This is what will come. A possibility. A glimpse."
What's his name, Kev?
His name is Jared, the Goblin King.
Jared.
He says,
"What
"This,
game
of course,
are you playing at, Jared?"
No game, Mr. Baker. This is a view of what is to come. This is a dream."
Yes, but why have you brought us here, to the grave of the Fae?
To understand. You must understand the stakes, Mr. Baker. For you see, dreams are, of course, what we hope and dream and hope and desire of the world. And this, of course, is what she desires.
What do you desire?
My desires are not of importance, because desires are nothing without the power to seize them and make them real. This dream is hers. A dream free of mortals. None of you temporary and transitory creatures to disturb their immortal perfection. Or at least, not many. And you hear this rustling from down the from the far end of the street, and you see very rough and dirty-looking humans come around the corner, and with them is a figure, even older than you saw before, that you recognize. This is, of course, Inquisitor Randolphus. Let me see if I can find the picture of him again. So I had him here.
Wait, he's there with the humans?
Yeah, remember that Inquisitor Randolphus is the old guy who was an Inquisitor with the Church of the New God. He was the one who Junus's old master, he was friends with Randolphus, so Junus has kind of a relationship with him. He was the guy who you met. Remember when there was the quarantine leading into in and out of Perse? He was the guy who helped get you guys through. Randolphus is also the guy who provided you with that box to secure something when you guys went into Catandramus Manor.
Right.
So he is here again. I think I do have. There he is. Let me show you guys what he looks like. Boom. So that's what he looks like. However, his clothes are tattered. His face is dirty. His beard wildly overgrown, and the handful of humans who are with him, they look no better. They look like they have been living, in squalor for quite some time. Randolphus is ushering these people along, and they seem to be running towards you. And then you hear something like the sound of some massive beast making its way towards you. Thboom, thboom, thboom. He says, and this is Jared, he says to you guys, I fear they may not be here for long, though. The last of the mortals cleared out. And do you hear that? And you listen, and you start hearing what sounds like a crowd, sort of like a crowd of people screaming at each other in shrill voices to the point where you can't make out any one sound, but it's just this really, it sets your teeth on edge in the same way that, like, the sound of a baby crying in an enclosed room just cuts right through you. It just is just, but it is sounding so loud that it is clearly from some titanic beast. Would you guys all make will checks for me, please? Or will challenge, I think it's called in this game.
Uh-oh, 8. She doesn't get a boon or anything, eh?
Unfortunately not, no.
Boo.
Ooh. So Millar, this...
Oh, come on, Junus. Heck.
You feel this pit in your stomach, Millar. Millar, would you make an intellect check with... are you trained in occult as well?
Yes.
Are you a profession in occult? Why don't you make it with 2 boons for me, please?
All right. Oh my guys.
And actually, I think Trader, you can also make a intellect check with 1 boon. I don't think he's got occult or any kind of.
No.
Millar's roll. Whatever it says.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay. So both of you guys have a sneaking suspicion of what this is. That maddening, chittering cacophony that comes stalking towards you is the Jabberwock.
Mm.
The most terrifying, tainted fey creature that haunts the Hidden Kingdoms.
Oh, dear.
Do you remember way back when you guys were in... well, actually, this starts from when you recovered that scabbard that sings when you want it to, Junus. That has the Jabberwock on it. There's a picture of the Jabberwock on that. When you guys were in that like prison or whatever, there was also a carved picture of the Jabberwock in the wall.
Great.
And if you, let me show. I can show you a picture of what it looks like. Give me 1 second.
Fight or run, Steve? I think we should just run. I
hope it's part of the illusion, because I don't think we can fight that thing.
This?
Well,
there we go, guys. There is the Jabberwock.
Noise. Or not nice.
Yeah. So, Randolphus and these humans are sort of scattering towards you. What do you guys do?
I think we should flee. This is just a dream of the future, so let's just get out of here. Let's not fight the Jabberwock.
Okay. Are you saying this out loud?
Yeah. Trader is telling everyone that we should run.
Jared starts sort of like, that's right, traitor. Run. Flee. There is nothing you can do. It's her dream. What do you guys do?
Millard
turns.
Yeah.
Hey, go ahead, Steve.
Is Millard there? Are they all there now?
Yeah, you guys are all there.
Millard turns and stands and looks straight at the Jabberwock.
Okay, so you're standing there bravely, sort of facing this thing down. What do Junus and Hobie do?
Junus and Hobie are a bit stunned, and they of course failed their checks.
Yeah.
But they'll sort of skitter to one side to try to figure out what's going on.
So actually, Millar failed her will as well. So I think what happens is she is trying to stand, brave and facing this thing down, but she can't help. She realizes first that her face is hot with tears that are just, she's weeping, and she finds herself collapsing to her knees. Sort of what was going to be her sort of brave last stand is sort of turning into this like supplication or offering of herself to this horrific creature. So Hobie and Junus, you said, are going. Matt and Trader, you guys are running?
Well, that's what Trader said, but did he see that Millar has kind of fallen?
I think so, because well, you tell me, do you think, like, would he spare a look back to see what's going on?
Well, I don't think he would have necessarily been the first to flee. He was just telling everyone else. So,
okay.
And he definitely wouldn't run away until Matt has left.
Sure. So we'll say he noticed that Millar has sort of taken a couple steps forward, and then, seems to have like been trembling, and then her knees gave out.
Okay. He yells, "Damn you, Jared!" And he flies over and shapeshifts into his fighting form and stands between the beast and Millar.
Okay, so you that's awesome. I think there's a flush of a moment too as you land. You spare a quick look back at Millar, and for just a fraction of a second, her dwarven form sort of is gone, and it's a face that seems to be crafted of fallen twigs and leaves and natural elements with glowing eyes, and then it's gone, and then she's back to the same face you've always seen. You think, obviously you recognize that as a changeling, a fey creature, creation of the of Titania. So this the humans and Randolphus seem to be running towards you guys, but they don't seem to actually see you. And you can hear this the chittering and whatnot. The cacophony gets louder and louder, and you can hear this horrible screech then that breaks through. And you think you can see the top. There's a at the edge of this this intersection here. There's a 2-story building with a big peaked roof, and you think you can see above the top of that roof this winding, undulating, reptilian scaled neck that sort of goes along, and it's getting to the edge and to the edge, and it's almost there. And then there's a flash of light, and all the trees and all the grass and all the beings that you saw, Jared and Randolphus and the fleeing humans, and indeed even crossing itself, is gone. And where you stand is under a overcast sky full of dark orange clouds. A bitter hot rain falls down. You guys stand in the middle of what looks to most of you like a mausoleum. Stone, perfectly uncut stone, seems to stretch out in every direction. Towers of near perfect rectangular feature with no visible workmanship stretch up as high as you could imagine, though they all seem broken at some point, like some massive tree wrenched down by a titanically strong wind. There is rubble that sits at the feet of many of them. And indeed, if you look off in one direction, you can see that there is an entire one of these buildings collapsed to the side. It's gaping, empty windows, looking like a 1,000-eyed skull to you. Now, that's the way it looks to most of you. To Matt, you were standing in a ruined downtown. The temperature is probably somewhere around 45 degrees Celsius. The wind that blows in hits hot, and even the rain feels warm. And there's no living creature that you can see in any distance, but hot lightning cuts across the darkened sky, leaving a rumbling that cuts through what is clearly miles of cavernous city that seems to lie empty. Then you hear a voice, which again is Jared's. Of course, he has dreams as well. And you turn and you see he sort of steps out from behind one of these piles of rubble.
Jared steps out.
Yes.
And do you fear to speak his name, Jared?
I would hate for him to misinterpret it as an invitation. But I trust you recognize his handiwork, Mr. Baker.
Indeed, I do.
Yes. And you see, he has dreams as well. He hopes to steal what the Queen seeks to achieve and supplant it, and he sort of raises his hands up as if displaying everything to you with his own. You see, he hates you as well, you mortals. But he would not replace it with a land of tranquility and permanence, but one of chaos, punishment, and violence. You hear a screech from somewhere overhead, as if some titanic demonic bird is aloft and hunting.
Kevin, do either of my characters know enough about Jared to know that he doesn't want either of these futures?
I think that traitor... Yeah, I think you probably recognize that. Your dealings with the Goblin King in the past have told you that he's sort of a rogue element here, a rogue player.
Right. Like I'm picturing a little more, like hedonistic, or he's more into pleasure or something than either of these strange futures.
Well, what you know, and what Trader has told you, and Millar would know this as well, is that one of the reasons why goblins, it's said that goblins exist in the mortal realm and are not Fae any longer, is because the Goblin King stole a kiss from the Fairy Queen. Now, to think that she exiled an entire race because of a kiss is a pleasant children's story, but what a more serious mind might think is that when they say she stole a kiss, that he stole some of her power. Because he is not dead. It's his people who were exiled, but he remains a force of power in the hidden realms of the Fae.
Right.
So he has been, he has his own schemes and whatnot, and it is unlikely that he would want to supplicate himself or to make himself subservient to any other greater power.
So Matt turns to Jared. He says, "So if you've brought us here and shown us this, I can only assume that you think we have a chance to stop these dark futures."
There is one more reality to show. For you see, these are nothing but dreams. Let me show you what would come. He raises his hand up with great flourish. His gloved fingers get ready, and there's a snap. And you guys find yourself standing in a blackened void. You're not sure what you're standing on, but you look down and see nothing. You look around and see nothing. You look up, and stretching out forever is nothing. You don't feel hot. You don't feel cold. You seem to be suspended in a field of nothing. And seeming to step from behind some invisible barrier or some barrier you cannot recognize, Jared suddenly steps into view as well. He says, This is what the true force behind the Queen will achieve. From the depths of the void, the Demon Lord reaches out. He has infected her desires, her mind, and this is what both her and his dreams will come to. And you hear, impossibly, somewhere off in the void, the sound of some titanic creature, like a twisted whale call. And you know that you are not alone in this massive blackened void, but you have no way of telling where that thing is, whatever the source of the sound is. What do you guys do?
Hobie turns to the Goblin King and said, "Yeah, what would you have of us, Jared?"
It's not what I would have of you, but what would you do? And he sort of gestures to the void. This, I take it, is not what you dream of.
This is not what any sane being would dream of.
Ah, on that, Mr. Baker, we will agree. Would you stop her? Would you stop him? Would you stop this?
We will do everything in our power to stop this.
I thought you might. So to stop this, you need to know what it is that lies behind this conflict. And he sort of gestures, and there's this like swirling sort of like mirror that seems to appear hanging in the empty space. And he says that at the dawn of the world, the first two creatures the dawn of the world was the creation of the genie. They brought order and permanence to our world, and into that world stepped the immortal Fae. And at that time, we know nothing of the passage of time, for we had all time stretching before us. But at some point, we recognized that there was something new, something transient and impermanent. And you see sort of in the vision, there's, animals and it seems, and then like, proto-humans, and then eventually humans and other races. These fleeting things were born, lived, and died in such short spans that they seemed the blink of an eye to us. But these creatures, when they passed, their souls would transition and return as to new creations, almost without any pause. Over time, we came to realize that these transient mortal beings would swiftly outnumber all of us. And so a plan was devised to slow their spread with using the canvas created by the genie. We created two other realms. We created the underworld and Elysium. The underworld was a place where souls would be washed clean, stripped of their previous identities, and then returned back into the reincarnative cycle. Elysium would be a reward for those noble souls who deserved such a thing. But there was one among us who would not allow the mortals this, who begrudged them their brief but vibrant existence. And you see this form that looks very similar to Diabolus. He would have none of us, he of the seven flames. And he tried to convince our greatest leaders that we could not let this stand, that we needed to interfere to shape them, but we had no interest in doing so. And so the Lord of the Seven Flames took it upon himself to force us. You see, one other element of the immortal power was the power of belief. And if you tell you mortals that there is a God, and there are gods who will answer your prayers, then so the world will provide those gods. And so it was that the Lord of the Seven Flames shaped the beliefs of the mortals, and warped some of our number into your gods. And you see before you sort of a picture or an image of the members of the old, the gods of the old faith, including Revel. And so it was that some of our number were transformed and transfixed into the forms that you now venerate, or did venerate before the emergence of the new god. This led, of course, to conflict with the traitor who we now named Diabolus. And that war would have torn apart all of creation. So a truce was reached. Diabolus would retreat from the mortal world, leaving it to us and to those he had warped into your gods. And in exchange, he was offered a realm of his own to make of his own creation. And so it was that Elysium fell and became the infernal realm. And you sort of see this, twisted, darkened vision of a fiery hell there, where the corruption and infection of mortals would be tempered out by Diabolus, hammered clean. But that was not a victory won without some expense. And it was agreed that the remnants of the Fae would still offer tribute. But Diabolus had only one currency which concerned him. That was, of course, souls, innocent ones. And again, now you see visions of sort of Fae creatures making off with babies and infants. This began the trade in infant souls and the spread of the changelings. And you see something very much like what I described there, a face of, natural, that's sort of crafted together with natural ingredients and whatnot. The changelings were substituted for the living offspring of mortals, and those souls were tithed to Diabolus to placate him and to satisfy the terms of the truce. But then war came between the Fae and the mortal trolls. And you see sort of this massive conflict, of two titanic armies crashing together, one of brilliantly beautiful and fine-looking Fae and elves, and one of hideous, disfigured trolls. At the end of the Troll Wars, the fairy queen Titania cast a massively powerful spell to make the trolls unable to enjoy the light of the sun. Their very skin became anathema and would turn to stone if they were exposed to its healing and warming light. That, however, greatly diminished her. And the war itself took such a colossal toll that the Fae found their numbers greatly diminished, both by death and by other more insidious means. And you see sort of the same place where you guys broke into the sort of prison to free those damaged Fae. Those that survived were so diminished, and the power and the mortals were spreading so quickly that Titania had to find a new way, to find a new land to keep her people safe. And so it was that the hidden realms were crafted. But unfortunately, the most tragic victim of the Troll Wars was her spouse, the king, Oberon of the Fairy. Too twisted by the effects and the experiences he suffered during the Troll Wars, he was left behind as a marker and as an ersatz guardian of the pathway to the hidden realms. And what you guys see is that there's a fairly intricate looking town that seems to be, it's very Fae structures, lots of trees and buildings in trees and so forth. But no, it is on the shores of some giant lake, and you can see standing above the trees are 6 white spires. And in the center of that, you see a clearly haggard-looking and greatly, sallow-faced, beautiful man with long golden hair, dressed in the remnants of royalty, who is being escorted inside an enormous iron cube, which is sealed behind him. In the time since, the queen and her people have retreated to the hidden realms. The mortals have come to dominate this world. But in all that time, she has looked back at your world, which was her world, and has desired it. And as time passed for a being to whom time means nothing, she began to hear whispers. Whispers that she took to be her fallen king, but truly came from somewhere beyond. And you see the queen sitting on her throne, and it's a much more beautiful version of what you had seen Candace turn into. She's a stunning looking woman with sort of opaque white eyes, big, elegant stag's horns coming from her forehead, and long black hair, and a robe that seems to be made of a mixture of like spider silk and like gossamer moss, and accented with little dabs of reflective water or sap. And she sits on her throne looking melancholy, and you see her perfectly white eyes suddenly wash over like oil spilling over, or black paint spilling over a pearl, to being black, which then spreads like veins through her horns. She began to hear the voice of the demon lord disguised as her king, and she began to effect a plan. No longer would she linger in the hidden realms, but she would return, and shattering the barriers that she had raised between the hidden realms and the lands of mortal men. Though she did not realize that by doing so, she would shatter the barriers between the void, where the demon lord lurked, and the world. Her plan required great planning or forethought, and magic that was beyond her scope. So diminished she was over time. But she knew that mankind loved to explore and dabble in new things. And so she put her most clever followers to work, and they came up with a plan. And you see now, standing in the middle of a court, there's a bunch of, like fairies that are sort of working away. There's some hobgoblins in there as well. And there's something that's underneath some kind of, like draped underneath a cloth. And we see this hobgoblin man or woman. They don't seem to have any like sex one way or the other. They pull it back, and what you see standing there is a clockwork. The Fae, of course, or we Fae, of course, are creatures of dreams and inspirations and story. So it was a easy feat to infect the creative minds of the artificers and crafters of your world with the idea for clockworks. Though, while the artificers thought that it was their creativity and the very rules of magic that allowed them to bring these devices to life, what they failed to question was where those souls came from. The queen was already used to paying a hefty tithe to Diabolus in pure and untainted souls, and it was easy for her to simply redirect those into the clockworks. And Jared's eyes sort of land squarely on Junus. So what she plans is to use all of you. The clockworks will provide the amplifier. They've spread throughout all of Earth, everyone in the Empire they are located, and they will provide the necessary anchor for the vast magics which she wishes to unleash. But cheated of his tithe, Diabolus wanted to avenge himself on the queen, and so he came up with an idea to steal that anchor. And he turns and looks at you, Millar. He didn't say anything necessarily, and it's not quite obvious. You just know, Millar, that he's making eye contact with you. The Dark Lord has figured a way to try and usurp control over that mystic anchor and seize back what he feels is rightfully his, all of those souls. And by crafting a larger and more powerful version, he hopes to overpower the Queen's spell, and where she seeks to bring the hidden realms to the mortal world, he will instead unleash hell upon it. So, this is what you face. This is the plan that you must undo. Do you feel yourselves able to undo the schemes of the immortals?
Well, we're going to need help.
Help? Help I can offer. But do you have the will?
We have the will.
Then there are two things that you will require. One will be a map. You are aware that during the Troll Wars, both the elves and trolls unleashed horrific weapons upon each other. And it was not until the Queen unleashed her most deadly weapon that the trolls were defeated. What is not known by many is that the trolls had a similar weapon. Something that they were so afraid of unleashing that they elected to lose the war rather than risk its wrath. But it is the only thing that will stop the Queen in her plan. It is called the Ending Stone. And I believe that you met the being that set the Ending Stone in its hiding place. And you guys see very briefly the picture of that elf that you rescued from that tower. He is the only one who knew, and the Queen knew that. I understand he is dead, but he has left behind his knowledge, has he not?
Yes, we have many pages of his ramblings.
Then you must decipher that and discover the hiding place of the Ending Stone and recover it. The elves at the end of the Troll Wars lurked across all of creation to hide both their weapons, their war wounded, and those of the enemy. And so you will need a way of traveling across the length and breadth of Earth. And then you hear the sound that I think only Matt recognizes. And you see there is what looks like to everyone other than Matt. I'm getting feedback from somebody here. Let's see, does someone have their hold on, let me I don't think I'm mute. I'm getting feedback from somebody. I think it might be you, Steve-O.
Feedback.
Why don't you just try talking? Let's see here. Maybe that'll
testing feedback.
It's just me. No, I'm not hearing you anymore. I'm hearing a little bit. That's okay. So what you see is what looks kind of like a carriage to most of you, but to you, Jeff, I believe it looks like a 65 Mustang or something to that effect. What did we say his car was?
Was it a GTO?
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so the Goblin King is offering Matt his car back.
Matt looks at Jared and he says, well, now you can see the true powers of this place, as my dreams and desires have been realized, as you return my car to me.
It will be not without cost, but we will deal with that later, Mr. Baker. The second thing you will require will be a key. Once you have recovered the ending stone, you will need a key to return yourself to the hidden realms, for the ending stone must be used in the presence of the queen and her other devices. The second anchor between herself and the clockworks is located in her tower. The ending stone should destroy both her and that. By destroying that, you will prevent her from ever using the clockworks in such a manner, and in doing so prevent Diabolus from usurping control of that signal. The final thing you must do is destroy the titanic creations of Diabolus. He is clever and driven, and if he manages to find a way to use the power of crossing with those titanic beings, he may succeed where the Fairy Queen has failed.
I sense a battle tech crossover.
So that is what lies before you. That's what you must do. Find the ending stone, destroy the Titan clockworks, enter the Fairy Queen's realm, and destroy her and it.
No small task.
You have proven yourselves mildly capable. And I trust that you hope to be up to the task of this. Now, the clever among you may wonder, why bring you here? He just kind of lets that question hang there.
We wonder, will you answer?
Because there is one other scheme she has in mind. Knowing the power of dreams, she has a clockwork heart here, where she hopes to again infect the minds of mortals with the dreams of the Fae. Your first step in undoing her plan will be to destroy the beating heart found in the Garden of Graves. Once that anchor is destroyed, you will return to your bodies and to the waking world and to the task that lies before you. There you will find the tools that are needed. Gifts I will leave for each of you to achieve your tasks. But you must first prove yourself worthy of this by destroying the clockwork heart of dreams. And you now find yourselves back in that room. And there is no Jared in here, apart from the statue of Jared, who seems to be looking down at you with a bit of a wry smile on his face. What are you guys going to do?
Find the clockwork heart.
Okay. So, what I'm going to do, guys, I think is we're going to do sort of a cutscene thing here. I'm going to move you guys along as a group to show you sort of some of the stuff that you will encounter through here. So we'll move you over here. Boom, you've moved down these corridors here. Boom. So the corridor leads down around here.
Yeah, where the footsteps came from.
That's right, into this room here. There is a courtyard out here. Boom. And then there. Oh, sorry, Hobie. I left Hobie behind.
So there's two strange fallen statues there, or something.
Those are actually bodies.
Oh.
Some other mortals who tried to break into here. Now, where you eventually find your way in, is up, way up at the top. So let me just. I'm just trying to remember. The architecture of this place is really weird. So we move you guys over here, back to that courtyard you came from, back up the side.
The name of the artist who did all those goblin drawings from the 80s, like in Labyrinth.
Yeah, it was Jim Henson who did a lot of the design work in it too.
Really? Because it was very similar artwork to the stuff that you found in the Fighting Fantasy books.
Totally, yeah. That's actually I don't know. I can't remember the name of the guy, but I've got some of those Fighting Fantasy books in PDF. So there's a door over here, guys, which you lead into, which leads you into a room full of tapestries. And I can show you what that room looks like. So one of the tapestries you see looks like that.
You watch the doors.
And you see there is a where is it here? There's a door over here in the bottom corner here, which slides open, and then it leads you down into here. Oops, I just moved Millar. Sorry, I should have moved everyone. Sec here. So this room here has three big, or actually three smaller sarcophagi, and then one big sarcophagus sitting on a raised platform. And you can hear a sort of thrubbing or humming sound coming from over in this direction here. The walls in here have the same kind of weird tracing and patterns and whatnot that you had seen in the other rooms. But they're also overgrown with lots of weeds and ivy and clinging vegetation. So as you guys are making your way through here, it's over in this direction. You hear the thwum, 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 thwum. Actually, I'm sorry, it's down here. And it is, yeah, maybe what I'll do is I'm going to ask you guys to make perception checks for me, please. That's not good.
That's not good. It is.
That's as usual for Trader.
Yeah.
Yeah, Junus does not score well on these things. And there we go.
Okay. So, Matt, Hobie, and Millar all here, as you guys are making your way through here. This place has been quiet as the grave so far. I'm getting feedback from someone again. Steve, I think because you got that new laptop and it does that thing where the sensitivity goes way up.
Okay.
But as you guys are making your way through here, you one second here, I'm trying to find. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so what you hear is a creaking of wood, like kind of the sound of like a thick, beam or like a limb of a tree bending. And what you see is that the very center of this edge in the middle there appears to be coming to life. So let me bump, 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 bomb. And the ivy heart comes to life. And you hear a scratching of stone on stone behind you. And you see from those sarcophagi horrible undead things crawling forth and covered in roots and vines, as if the vegetation is what animates these things. So, what I'd like you guys to do is declare whether you're taking a fast or slow turn, and then I will reveal what these things are doing.
Yuck. All right. Okay.
It's been a long time. Okay, so if you want to move and attack, you have to do a slow action.
That's right, yeah.
Move and attack, move and attack.
What about just to draw a weapon?
That is a free action, I think. Like to draw a weapon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a free action.
Okay. I think that's right then.
Okay. So we're trying to find a specific monster that I want to use, and I can't, because there's each of the creatures in, or most of the creatures in Shadow of the Demon Lord actually have a different name. Like they're very close to the sort of D&D names for them, and a lot of the monsters are the same, but they've got slightly different, or different enough that it's hard to find. Okay, so Ray, looks like Matt, you appear to be the only one taking a fast turn, so you get to go first. What would you like to do?
Yeah, okay. Matt pulls out his gun. And he had special bullets for this. I don't remember.
I don't think he did.
Oh, cold iron bullet. I did write it down.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. So that'll give you a boost on the attack roll, an extra dice on damage.
Okay.
Is each one of those squares a yard?
Each one of those squares is 3 yards.
3 yards. Okay.
So I think I think your speed is, I guess your speed times 3 equals how many yards you move.
Okay.
All right. So Matt, what was it you're trying to shoot? One of the zomboids?
Like this guy right here. Does it bang him?
Oh yeah. Okay. So you blast that thing, and actually it. Thanks to the roll 1 extra d6. Because you
Roll.
pistol, your revolver should do 1 extra. Nice. Yeah. So it is destroyed. You fire, and it shatters that thing. The cold iron bullet just shatters the enchantment that was holding that thing together. Sorry, Steve. Can I get you to go into your Google Plus or the Google Hangouts call? And you're gonna have to adjust the levels of your mic. Because I'm getting. Yeah, it'll be the.
I got my let's go mute.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, no feedback. Okay, cool. Okay, so that was Matt's turn. The zombies are not taking. They're taking slow turns. So is the the only thing that is not is that IV heart. And let's say Trader's the closest thing. And I don't think I hit Trader. I take it that a 3, 1, 2, so it's 7. I take it a 10 does not hit you. Trader?
Oh, which number is that again?
Your defense. I don't think a 10 hits. I rolled really terribly. I'm using, incidentally, my Conan dice. My Kickstarter copy of Conan finally showed up, and I forgot that I ordered some dice as well. Okay, so that the Ivyheart lashes out with one of its tentacles, and it misses Trader. Next up, who wants to go? Millard, Junus, Hobie, or Trader?
Oh, no, not even close.
Steve, why don't you go with one of your guys?
Sure.
And you're muted. There you go.
I'm going to mute myself, and I will go. Let's go with Junus, and Junus will run in and take care of business. Do a guarded feint against Mr. Dread Zombie right here.
Nice. Go ahead and make your attack roll.
I'll mute myself again afterwards. And all right. Jotun Saber, and he gets no. So he will get 2 boons then, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Wow, nice.
Holy shit. Okay, so you rolled over 20, which means you get to roll an additional d6, right?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. Boom, 6,
Yep.
nice.
So what does that look like?
He just goes, he sees how much damage Matt did, and he's like, okay, well, we want to get this thing before more of these things turns up. So he just comes barreling in fearlessly and just 2-hand cleaves right through the middle of this thing, and then slices it into a bunch of branches.
Amazing. Yeah, so it's just nothing but bone and shattered wood. Okay, who wants to go next? Millar, Hobie, or Trader?
Okay, let's go with Hobie. So Hobie will also go moving in, and he will use his Warden's Strike, or whatever that is. Hold on here. Is disguise Binding Strike. Yes. Can I just roll the binding strike, or do I have to go back to the weapon?
I don't know if they fixed it yet. Try clicking on it and see what happens.
All right.
At the least, we'll see what the spell does.
All right. Kablam.
Okay, that didn't work. I don't think you rolled 38.
Oh, it says attack at 38. Okay, I'll take it.
So just, go ahead and roll an attack. Because you make it a weapon attack. Click on your weapon, and then we know now what to do.
All right, here we go.
And you get 1 boon on that.
15 damage, 7. Nice. So he is bound, and you can see with success. In addition to taking normal damage, token becomes immobilized. There you go.
Nice. Okay, so that thing is stuck in place. Like the you hit it, and the bit of nature that seems to be animating it actually grows thicker and constrains the thing. Okay, I'm gonna ask you to mute yourself again, Steve. I'm getting crazy feedback right now.
Millar will, and sure, I'll do that right now. Also,
Let's let Trader go.
Okay.
Yeah. So Trader, what are you doing?
Trader casts Beast Within.
Okay.
That costs him mana. Well, rank 0 is 1 mana, right?
That's right. Yeah. So level +1.
So drops to 7 left. And that takes a move, right?
Beast Within, I think, is an action. I don't remember. It'll say on the spell. Let's see.
It just says duration 1 minute.
That's a primal spell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Do you? I forget, Jeff. Do you have a physical copy of Shadow now?
Yes, I do. It's in my basement.
Okay.
I should have got it for today.
Okay, primal Beast Within. It does not say, so it's an action. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's why I kind of think we've been playing it that way.
I think that's Okay, so you your claws get bigger and whatever.
Yeah, feathers get sharp. So he can move, but he can't attack, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, there's sort of like a doorway there, so he'll just move to be like protecting Millar and the others from this ivy heart there.
Okay. Okay, so the zombie that is with Hobie is going to try and hit him. That is for sure a miss. So this thing tries to get at you, Hobie, but your shield comes up. Oh, sorry. Millar has a turn first. So I think unmute yourself there, Steve-O.
I can help you out with this.
Okay, so Magic Wrench, and that's just a what is that? That is a
I think it's an intellect attack roll.
You're right. All right, here we go. Rock and roll 5. Rock and roll. What's up?
That is not good.
Ping, 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 ping.
You can spend your fortune to make that a hit if you like.
Let's do it.
Okay, so go ahead and roll damage. I can't remember what. Maybe just click on Magic Wrench, and we'll see what it says.
Sure. No. Right here. Where'd it go? There you go.
And I've already rolled for my zombie. So, nice. So 1d6 plus 1 damage. And I'll move my skeleton. So this giant zombie skeletal thing staggers forward. And
nice 2.
Oh, it's balls. Okay, so the zombie is hit. Were you attacking the small one again?
Oh yeah, the small one.
Okay, so actually, that is enough to destroy it.
Yay!
Because he was damaged by Hobie. This big one comes staggering forward. Evens odds. It's odds. So it's Junis. It's attacking, and so it staggers up. It's got this vicious-looking like pole arm in its arms, and it swings at Junis. That is a 19 plus 5, so it's a 24. So I think that hits Junis.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Junis takes 10 points of damage as this thing clatters down on him. So if you click on his token and just add 10 into the red box, that'll show the damage. Boom. Okay. That's it for everyone on the turn. So next turn, go ahead and mark you guys fast or slow turns, and then we will go.
So this Ivy Heart thing didn't move or do anything?
It attacked on a fast turn. It doesn't have to move.
Oh, okay.
It attacked Trader earlier, but it missed.
Oh, that was him that... Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's what I was asking to check his defense from before.
So if I don't move and just cast a spell, that's fast?
Yes. Yeah, you can do that in a fast turn. Okay. All right. So on fast turns first, either Matt, Hobie, or Junis can go.
Go ahead and do your first character.
Right. He will go, I think. He will do his... what's he going to do here? He do his misdirect. One Bane. Symbol rig. That's an interesting. Binding Strike. Oh, if I do Binding Strike, he can make an attack with one boon, and I substitute Will in place of the attribute I would normally use.
Okay.
And then the guy's immobilized. So I think he's going to do that again, and I'll take off an extra 2 for that.
Okay. So I think that's because you're tracking his mana, right?
Yeah, I am. 27. Yep. There we go. Okay. So he's going to get Will and one boon. Nice.
Okay. Go ahead and make your attack roll.
All right. Just getting over there. Here we go. Will, one boon. Come on, baby. 22.
Oh, nail it. Yep. Go ahead and roll damage.
All right. And the damage was... What is it damage? I think it's regular damage.
I think it's just your weapon.
Yeah, this guy is Binding Strike. Normal damage, yes. Okay, so hold on here. And that is 1d6 plus 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. D6, 6, 8. Nice.
Nice. Okay.
Everybody's immobilized.
So you smash your axe down into this thing. It cuts through its defense. It shatters the armor it has on its leg, and you chip a good chunk of that femur away from it. So it staggers back a little bit, injured, and then as you bring your axe back, there's again a spring of life as these roots grow up from the ground and entwine this massive skeleton's legs. So, who's next? Junis or Maddie?
I guess Matt can go.
Okay.
So Matt casts Fuse on this giant
Nice.
thing.
Oh, that's brutal. Why don't you click on the spell so we can see what it does?
Yeah. Where do you? Oh, you just click on the roll.
Yeah, and then it'll display everything. It doesn't roll properly for some reason, but
Still tells you what it does.
yeah.
So basically, he makes an intellect attack against the creature,
Mm-hmm.
and so what he's going to do is he's going to actually just teleport it, like knee deep or whatever, into the vines that are growing up from the ground, attacking it.
That's awesome.
Like just teleport it deeper. Yeah. So
go ahead and make an attack roll.
An intellect attack roll?
Yeah, against its will.
So I just roll my intellect?
That's right.
That? Okay. I gotta scroll all the way up to the top. Get back to the sheet. Intellect roll, Matt. Kapow.
That is, yeah, this thing's mostly a mindless undead, so that is good enough. Go ahead and roll damage is 6d6.
One, two, three, four, five, six. D6s. Roll.
Whoa.
Oh!
So this thing is basically, it looks as if the floor gives out a bit on this thing, and it suddenly is further down, and you hear the splintering and shattering of bone as the floor closes around this thing. It sort of writhes around its jaw, or opening and closing as if in a great deal of pain, but the lack of vocal cords means it can't make any of that audible. It then, in blind panic, smashes its hands down on the ground and wrenches up, which pulls this thing in two, and it sort of staggers forward. Its head hits against the. I'm not sure if you can see there, but it's actually standing on a sarcophagus, so it's actually sort of fused partly with that as well. And then basically it falls in a heap, destroyed.
Oh.
Yeah, like you really fucked that thing up.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, who is next? Hobie, it looks like you're up next.
Junis. And Junis will. Can he make it to the? Can he make it to the heart?
Heart is how many away? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares, which is 18. What's his speed?
His speed is 10.
It's 10.
It's not quite.
Okay, so it's 30. Yeah, that'd be. Well, it's 10 squares. Each of them is. Yeah, I think he can.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Kablam.
30 be 10 squares effectively that he can move. So.
Wow, there you go. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's going to run in and do a mad sort of sweeping strike. Not like this thing can react or move much, but
Yeah.
and then try to deke it out, give it a head fake, and then try to slice it through the middle with his sword.
Fuck yeah.
With a guarded feint.
Give him shit.
All right. Here we go, sweetheart. 2 boons. Submit. 20.
Oh, nice. So that means
79.
extra d6, and I think you get to make an extra attack, don't you, because of your warrior ability?
Oh, I completely forgot. And an extra d6 there. Okay,
so,
and then it's just an extra regular attack, I guess.
Yep.
17, 14 damage. What is up?
27 damage in one round. That's pretty respectable.
Yeah. More like it.
So you're just fucking slashing away at this thing with your Jotun saber. All right, then it'll either be Trader or Millar who goes next.
Trader can go. He'll move up the other side here of this thing.
Yep.
And use his what's it called? His talent. It's like distraction or whatever it's called. Shoot. Oh, exploit opportunity? Nope, that's if he gets an extra attack.
Are you talking about
Dirty Tricks.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what it's called. So he attacks with 1 boon.
And I think his Dirty Tricks he gets twice per. Is that the one that gives him the extra attack? No. I'm thinking of Trickery.
No, that's his. Dirty Tricks is your attacks deal 1d6 extra damage, and when you make an attack, roll with 1 boon. His key strike. Oh, his key focus. +4 to speed. Wait a second. I haven't done this in so long.
No, I know, and we don't have any cheat sheets or anything together for these characters yet, so.
Okay, when you, So he attacks with 1 boon. He does get Trickery and Rogue Cunning twice per round. You can make an attack roll or challenge roll with 1 boon. If you attack with 1 boon from this talent, your attack deals 1d6 extra damage.
Yeah, and because of his level 5 ability, I think he gets to do that twice per round. So if he gets something that gives him an extra attack, he gets to have an extra boon and then do an extra d6 damage on that as well.
Right. Oh, so it's actually his Trickery that he's using. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So give him shit. Let's see how he does.
So he attacks
Traders. Go ahead.
Agility? Is that what he uses?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Agility roll. So with boon.
His claws are a finesse weapon. Holy shit.
Bang.
26, which means you rolled over 20, so I think you get to move or make an attack again.
Yeah, I think he gets a second attack. So Beast Within natural weapon does 2d6, and he does 1 extra d6 from that talent that he just used.
Yeah, you can make an extra turn at any point before the end of the round. So that's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and roll damage from your first attack.
Your attacks deal 1d6 extra damage when you make an attack roll with a boon.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So 3d6.
Claws are listed as one of your weapons, so you can just click on that and then add a d6.
Let's do this. There we go.
Okay. Nice. Make your second attack.
Okay. Yeah, he'll just attack again. So this one's with no boon.
No, remember you can use Trickery twice per round.
Oh. So
yeah.
roll an extra d6.
That's what your level 5 ability. One of your level 5 abilities is called Rogue Cunning. You can use Trickery twice per round.
Right. Okay, so it's a 22.
Holy shit.
And so then he takes another 2d6. So another 9. So 12 and then 9.
Why did you only roll 2 dice on that second attack?
Oh, no, I don't know, because I'm forgetting.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
12. So it's a second 12. It's 2 12s.
Okay, so between the flurry of attacks of you two guys, you just carve this thing to basically, so it's just, twigs left. There's effectively nothing left of that thing. Right. So what I'm going to do is, once you guys have sort of confirmed that this is safe, you go down here. You see that door. And it is a big double door that happens to look exactly like that.
Mm.
What do you guys do?
So he's got this big key, and this other guy was trying to pick the lock or something, and he got zapped.
Yeah. Millar, would you make a intellect check for me, please?
Now, Matt has this singing key or whatever it was called.
A singing key? Ooh,
yeah,
shit!
He found it.
Awesome. Millar?
You said it.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead, Jeff. It was a what?
It was one of the items that we found when we all found a bunch of items, and you said it was the Goblin King's key or something.
Oh, no. That was the keys to your, I was giving an elaborate description for it, but that was the keys to your car.
Oh, well, what's the singing key?
Singing key? I do not know.
Okay. Well, it's written on my character sheet.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up.
I'll go back and listen to some of the older episodes. So Millar, you're recalling what that poster looked, or the tapestry looked like. You're looking at that thing. Remember, you're an artificer. You could reach in your bag and pull out a big white key.
I could do that. It might not necessarily be the right key, but I could certainly whip up a key. Shall I?
Team? Best thing we got.
All right. I
Okay.
look at the tapestry. So maybe I do go back and I look at the tapestry and I try to make a key to the same specifications
Okay.
as in the tapestry.
Sure. So there's maybe like some kind of involved clockwork aspect to it too, where you make the key like it'll go in and sort of fill itself out with clockwork bits as you put it in there.
Sure.
But you successfully open the door.
Ooh.
And then without getting zapped by a giant lightning bolt, you guys find a corridor here that leads. Oh, let me put one of the guys who's got light in the corridor. Oop, wrong way. There we go. So you see the corridor going down there, guys, which leads you into this big room here. Boom. And in that room, there is an enormous, like, 4, sectioned heart made out of brass and wood, and mounted between the floor where it's been driven into the floor or like perhaps grown into it, and then up into the ceiling. And the room is full of smoke and steam that comes from this churning and crunching engine. There are windows at the side where the smoke is sort of billowing out from this thing. And you got to stand before this and think, just a bit in awe. Junius, you are really kind of like you feel a bit of like kinship to this thing because it is clearly a living thing. Matt and Millar and Hobie, you can feel waves of magical power coming off of this thing. Matt, you also feel like there's a bit of almost like a wave of drowsiness that hits you as you look at this thing, as if it's trying to somehow influence your mortal mind. Because I think you're the only mortal who's left in the party. And the last thing is, Millar, you hear a familiar voice. Millar.
Boyfriend, then we'll go away.
Millar. Prove yourself worthy of me and my gifts. Act as my vessel, and you will know power undefined. And you can feel the hot brimstone breath of Diabolus on your cheek as he whispers in your ear. And you know you have a choice, Millar. If you act as a vessel for Diabolus and allow him to pour his energy through you and into the heart, and therefore into the minds of mortal men, you will gain a full level in power, and you will be one level ahead of the rest of the party.
What is the price of that?
Millar, you swallow hard. And at that, Matt, maybe you turn to everyone and say, okay, well, how are we going to destroy this? And Millar, you hear that voice one more time. Do not let them destroy it, Millar. Become what you have been destined to be. My vessel. And at that, guys, I think we will call it a session. That'll give Steve a week to consider what he wants to do. And we will find out when we come back next week as to whether Millar bows to her darker beings and becomes a vessel for Diabolus. So for those listening at home, thanks so much for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed this return to Shadow the Demon Lord. I certainly enjoyed coming back. It was great having the band back together again. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding this session, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the section the comment section of the video, and I'll endeavor to get back to you at the earliest opportunity. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed, and we will see you again soon.